This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com, and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Anni Cyrus is a Sharia survivor. She was abused and imprisoned as a teen in her native Iran. She escaped to America and is an advocate for women and girls suffering under Sharia. Ms. Cyrus is with ACU News and is the producer of the Glazov gang. Her website is liveuptofreedom.com.
Good evening. Thanks for being here. As I normally say, it takes courage to be here. For me and for you. Because unfortunately, based on 8 years of misinformation, in this beautiful country, we're standing where the truth is punished by violence. I was born and raised in Islamic Republic of Iran, and it's very important to always say Islamic Republic of Iran. Reason for that, I come from a country with a very beautiful culture, a very beautiful history. But in 1979, an Islamic revolution took place, and my birthplace went from what was known as mini America in Middle East to Islamic Republic of Iran. Within 90 days, every single right and freedom was taken away from especially women. Within 60 days of the revolution, it was mandatory for every single woman to wear the hijab. Mandatory, not a choice. And it wasn't because back then the former supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khomeini, just wanted to do this. No, it was mandatory because in Quran, it is mandatory. In Quran, it has been mentioned and it has been said, "Oh Muhammad, tell your wives," not wife, wives, "and the believing woman to cover themselves and wear part of their headscarf down to their chests, so they will be known and not be abused." Based on that, if you don't wear the hijab in Islamic countries where Sharia rules, you might be abused, and you are at fault for that. I was born in that country after that revolution, which means I was born into 100% Sharia constitution. And I was also born into an Islamic family. My father was a sheikh, which is a step higher than an imam. And my mother was a teacher of Quran, and also she would teach other women how to be a devoted Muslim woman. I lived the first 15 years of my life in Iran. I escaped. I came legally to America. And as I'm standing here, I am a proud American citizen. I am 33 now, almost 34 actually. And I can tell you, when I came to this beautiful country, I came with one promise, and that was freedom. And I don't have it today. I don't. The reason I don't have it today is because those who have the power decided to manipulate and sugarcoat what Islam and Sharia stand for. So even though I came to this country to have a better future and to have a family and, grow old, I decided it's time for me to go back to where I ran from, which was Islam and Sharia. Because if I don't come out and if I don't tell you that at age 9 in my country, they put a white burqa, for those of you who may not know what is a burqa, it's the one that looks pretty much like a trash bag, covers the whole thing, just see the face. They put me on one of those with all other students at my school who turned 9. They took us into a place like here. I mean, forgive me, not like a church. I mean, a room like here. And there was an imam on a stage, and he went on saying, starting now, under Islam, you're all adult women. Starting tomorrow, you will be responsible for your actions. You will face consequences. You will follow Muhammad, and you will die fighting for Allah. 9 years old, every single one of us. The entire country did that specific day. Any little girl at age 9 went to one of those rooms and was informed that starting right now, she's not a little girl anymore. She's an adult woman. Oh, important part. You also will get married if your father decide for you to get married. If I don't stand here and I tell you, my father decided for me to get married, and he sold me when I was at the end of my 13, getting close to my 14, to a man, and in return he received $50. He received American dollar and a worth of a month of opium use for his use. If I don't tell you this, you would most probably think child marriage or child bride is a cultural thing. No, it isn't. It's an Islamic thing. It is authorized by Allah and practiced by the perfect man, which is Muhammad. He had a wife who was 6 years old. Well, yes, he didn't consummate the marriage until she was 9. But because of that, and because in Quran Allah said, we sent you Muhammad the prophet, the perfect example of a man, so you do what he does, to this day, a Muslim man can marry a little girl as young as an hour old and can consummate that marriage at age 9. I was close to my 14, but I can tell you, it doesn't matter. I could be 9, I could be 5, I could be 14. The worst part of it is the feeling when you stare at your father. I know America. I know the beautiful culture here. I know a father would die for his daughter. But I had a father who handed me to this man to make Allah happy. Not only he didn't protect me, he put me purposely on harm's way. And if you think my father was the only man who decided to do that, no. In average, every single day, between 5 to 7 little girls are being sold in Islamic countries. Every single day. Because there are so many people who want to believe that there's a heaven for them. And if they sell their little girls to a man, they will buy a spot for themselves there. I personally don't believe in that heaven. Technically, I'm not an ex-Muslim. By definition, they call me ex-Muslim because I was born in an Islamic country. In an Islamic country, you don't have a choice. When you're born, they will stamp your birth certificate as a Muslim. But when, on that day at age 9, in that room, when the imam was done talking, they got us all up and said, say the Shahada. Shahada is when you officially convert to Islam and you basically admit that there's no God but Allah and Muhammad is the only prophet. I didn't say it. There was too many people talking. Nobody noticed I'm not saying it. Because somewhere in my head, I knew there is no way God would tell my father or any other father to do this, to cause rape on their little girls so they can go to heaven. I was lucky. I was fortunate to somehow know this. I don't know how I knew it. But there are so many people who don't. There are so many Muslims that if you ask them if they read the Quran, they will say no. They haven't. They only read the parts their imam and leaders tell them to read. But I actually have read the Quran. By around age 5, I had the Quran memorized. I had no idea what I was saying. I just had it memorized because my mom would drag me with her to all these classes where she started, she would teach Quran. But then when I went to school, starting 2nd grade, they say mandatory, you have to learn Arabic because you need to learn Quran because you need to say the prayer. I raised my hand and said, quick question. So you're telling me Allah who created this is not bilingual? All he got is Arabic? I got 3 days suspension. Later on, I started reading the Quran for myself. I came to the first surah, which every Muslim, ask any of them. Ask them if they do their prayer. They say yes. It's 5 times a day. The entire thing is 20 times. So they repeat the first surah of Quran 20 times. And the very last verse of this surah, forgive me, I'm just a messenger, refers to all Jews and Christians as the cursed people. So every Muslim, radical or not, extremist or not, lovely or not, moderate or not, 20 times a day calls everyone in this room people who were cursed by Allah. I think that was the first time I stood and I'm like, wait, what? So Allah says, I created everyone equally, but then decided to curse some of his creation, question mark. Moving forward, when my father sold me, took him 5 minutes to sell me, 5 minutes. First I cried, then I begged, then I asked him why. He brought the Quran and put it in front of me. He went to the 4th surah of Quran and he read, where he is in charge of me. Because I have half the brain and he's got the full brain. Then when the so-called husband started beating me non-stop, I went to my father. I said, he's beating me. He brought back the Quran. 4th surah, read. Allah says, if you think, you don't need to have any proof, you just think that your wife is going to disobey you, first warn her, then separate your bed, then beat her until she obeys you. He's not doing anything illegal. Go home. So I kept reading the Quran. The more I read, the more I realized, oh my God, who is this Allah? Everything, every word, every single verse of this book is teaching nothing but hate. Yes, I'm not here to spread hate. I love everybody. I would say, I think it's fair to say, after what I've been through, and let me just quickly give you a recap. I was put in prison, I was lashed, I was beaten, I was raped, and I was sold to marriage. I think after all that, by age 15, I would have every right to hate everybody. But no, I want to love everybody. But the problem is, how do I love someone who is reading this book, where the book tells him to sell your daughter, to beat your wife, and also, by the ways, just in case if you're not happy with one wife, you can get the second one, third one, hey, get the 4th one. An unlimited rental wife, also known as, sex slaves. How can someone read this book and expect me to love him? Because he doesn't love himself. Where does love come from? I gotta love me before I can love you. And if this man is willing to follow these orders, it's impossible for him to have any love for himself. So, again, I don't hate them. I pray for them. I do. I talk to many of them. Those who tell me they have never read the Quran, I actually tell them, please do me one favor. And I will also ask you, please grab the Quran, and I don't expect you to go through the whole thing. Just read the 4th surah of Quran. It's called An-Nisa, the woman. 176 verses. Allah took the time to have a full surah to tell a man to count a woman as nothing. No respect. Nothing but a property like I was. I was nothing but a property to my father. That's why he sold me. Read that surah and do what I do. When you talk to a Muslim, ask them if they read that surah. If they haven't, advise them to read it. Because any human, anyone who reads that surah will come back asking questions, which is not allowed in Islam. Because I did. I asked questions, and I was left with a lot of bruises and a lot of broken bones. You're not allowed to question. But the only way for all of us to be able to live in peace and harmony is to be able to wake every single, as you mentioned, every single Muslim who's a victim of Islam. If we wake them up, if they realize what they're following, they stop following it. If this so-called religion has no follower, then there is no religion. It's done. This is not going to happen with hate. I agree. It doesn't need a war. No, it needs education. Everybody needs to read this Quran. With all of that being said, I will leave you with this. I was very, very fortunate. For the rest of my life, wherever my life goes, I will be grateful that I survived. Even though they broke me into pieces, they shattered me to pieces, I was able to build myself back up and have the opportunity to stand here and give you my life story. But please remember, every single day, there is at least one Anni Cyrus left behind. And when they go to sleep, they always pray that all of us will do something to save them. So as long as we are quiet, we are no answer to their prayers. Please get educated and then start educating other people. Speak out. Love everyone, but speak out. This is a danger, not just for us Americans. This is a danger to human society. And if I know one thing about everyone in this room, you all have your humanity. That's why you're sitting here. I know you love America, but I think beyond that, you love human society. Thank you so much.